Hello and welcome everybody. It's Matt from Pure MTG here, coming at you with a deck tech for Dina Soul Steeper. This is the deck that I got second place in the JAJAM Magic year-end tournament. If you're not familiar with what that is, basically the two top finishers of each month got put into a pool of players, and at the end of the year, all of those players played against each other and tried to compete and win. And each week was something different. This week was the fourth week. This was the finals. It was a precon commander or a legendary creature that was printed first in a precon. So Dina was firstly printed in a precon. And the other limitation was $1,000 budget. I would say that Dina actually probably performs, I wouldn't say better, but better performance to dollar ratio below 500 actually. So the 1,000 was kind of a stretch to even get it to 1,000. Excuse me. And so yeah, let's get into it. I'm normally in the deck tech, I kind of go from card to card and explain, but because there's combo pieces and like that's the main exact, like the deck doesn't win besides combo. This is a very CEDH level deck, so I'm going to go the deck tech a little differently than I normally do by combo packages. So the first combo package is very easy. You win on turn one. Witherbloom Apprentice with just 4 cards. It's a 4-card combination with a Swamp, Dark Ritual, which is a sorcery that gives you 3 black, and then Elva Spirit Guide, which is a card that you can exile to get green. Use those 2 cards to with the Dark Ritual mana and the Elva Spirit Guide to cast Witherbloom, and then you cast Chain of Smog. I hate this combo, but it's so strong that you have to put it in here, especially if you're going in like a tournament style setting and a very CDH setting. Put it this way, the person that won first place comboed on turn 1. And they even did it the hard way. They got extremely lucky, but we'll get to that. It was a good buddy of mine. Good job, Dino. He was playing Henzi Toolbox Tori, and he was playing also the Protean Hulk package, but just with red, so you can use like Faithless Looting and the like, which is how he got the win. But yeah, Chain of Smog, the way it works is, if you're not familiar, target player discards 2 cards from his or her hand. That player may copy this spell and may choose new targets for the copy. And Witherbloom Apprentice says, whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, each opponent loses 1 life, and you gain 1 life. So you cast it, you target yourself, you discard 2 cards, and then you copy it, and you target yourself, and then you discard 2 cards, and then you copy it, and then you target yourself. And each time you do this, each opponent loses 1 life, and you gain 1 life. And you can continue and target yourself any number of times, as much as you want, up until they're dead, or until you just stop, I guess. And you don't have to discard the cards to copy it, which is a stupid interaction. I hate it, but that's the way the card works, so it's in here. So yeah, you just keep targeting yourself until all of your opponents die, and then you win the game. Fancy, huh? And then the main bread and butter combo of this deck is the Protean Hulk combo. The whole point of this deck is to get Protean Hulk into the graveyard and then reanimate it some way, sacrifice it, and then go get the combo pieces. Dina is only in here for the colors, and because like I said, we were limited on what commander you can use, and yeah, so this was one of them. She's really only in here for colors, but she does have a sack outlet on her, so that's not bad. So you can sack the Protean Hulk if you have no other sack outlets, but there are a ton in here. And most of the ones you get include, Viscera Seer, which is you're going to get from Protean Hulk. But you need to be able to sacrifice Protean Hulk, because whenever it dies, whenever it's put into the graveyard from play, search your library for any number of creature cards with total converted mana cost 6 or less and put them onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. You're going to want to get Body Snatcher and Sylvan Safekeeper and something else. It could be probably, you want a sack outlet, so Viscera Seer or Carrion Feeder. Those are the 2 that you can. Those are the 6 converted mana costs that you should get on the very first sack of your Protean Hulk. What this allows you to do is this gets Body Snatcher onto the battlefield, Sylvan Safekeeper to protect your combo by sacrificing a land. Target creature gains Shroud until end of turn, and Body Snatcher enters the battlefield. When it enters the battlefield, exile it unless you discard a card. You ignore that. And then whenever Body Snatcher dies, exile it and return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. The reason why you're ignoring it is because while the ETB trigger is on the stack, when it enters the battlefield, when it's on the stack, your Protean Hulk is in the graveyard. You're going to want to sacrifice your Body Snatcher to reanimate Protean Hulk. You can sacrifice it to, like I said, either Viscera Seer or Carrion Feeder. Doesn't matter. You sacrifice it to then reanimate Protean Hulk again. Then you sack it again to either Carrion Feeder or Viscera Seer. And then you go get the rest of the combo, which is Lesser Manticore, Disciple of the Vault, Metallic Mimic, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, I guess you could get it. There's another flex spot because you already got 2 of the other pieces. It could be another sack outlet if you want. It could be whatever. It doesn't matter. But the reason why is because you want Metallic Mimic. You want it when it enters the battlefield. Choose a creature type. You're always going to choose Manticore. Masticore. You choose Masticore. And then it says Metallic Mimic is the chosen type in addition to his other type. It's a shapeshifter, so it is going to be that. And then each other creature you control of the chosen type enters the battlefield with an additional 1/1 counter on it. And with all of that on the battlefield, so you have Lesser Manticore, Metallic Mimic, Viscera Seer or Carrion Feeder, and Disciple of the Vault. Disciple of the Vault says whenever an artifact is put into a grave from play, you may have target opponent lose 1 life. Lesser Manticore, you sacrifice to either Viscera Seer or Carrion Feeder over and over and over again because Lesser Manticore has Persist. And Persist says when this creature dies, if it had no -1/1 counters on it, return it to the battlefield with a -1/1 counter on it. But Metallic Mimic says each other creature you control of the chosen type, you chose Masticore, enters the battlefield with an additional 1/1 counter on it. This means that it'll never get the negative counter and it'll never get the plus counter, and you can continually sacrifice Lesser Masticore over and over and over again, and then Disciple of the Vault will ping your opponents to death forever. You can do this infinite number of times. There's no mana cost or anything, so... and you have your Sylvan Safekeeper out here to sacrifice a land and give any creature that you have Hexproof, or well, Shroud, which is fantastic, so it protects your combo. That's the main way this deck wins. That's really all you need to know. Do that and you win the game, as long as you can protect it. And basically the moment you sacrifice Protean Hulk, I don't know if there's a way, there's probably a few ways. Removing Protean Hulk from the graveyard would be one, but a lot of it's instant interaction, so even if they were to go to instantly reanimate or instantly try to hit it, they'd have to do it in response to the Body Snatcher targeting it to reanimate it. That right there would be the way to do it. But it has very small windows for interaction, so it's a pretty strong combo. The other cards that are in here, like Land of War and Finhorn Elves and Elves of Deep Shadow, those are all just mana dorks. Deathray Shaman is sort of a mana dork, as well as targeted removal for stuff. You can interact with your opponent's graveyard using that. Apprentice is a reanimator. He reanimates stuff for you. Birds of Paradise, another mana dork. Dothly Voidwalker is another hate card. Opposition Agent is a hate card. And Dark Confidence card draw. And Allosaur Shepherd just prevents your green spells from being countered. You've got a bunch of sorcery reanimators. So this reanimates, this makes mana. It's another sack outlet as well. You want to have enough sack outlets to be able to sacrifice Protean Hulk, because if you got on the battlefield and then it gets like exiled and you can't sacrifice in response, your entire combination is much more difficult to assemble now. It's not impossible. You can go get like the pieces with Demonic Tutor, Imperial Seal, and Grim Tutor and like slowly put it together, but you definitely don't want that, and you want to be able to sacrifice it in response. So I would always recommend having a sack outlet for Protean Hulk when you cast it, or when you reanimate it. You never really cast this, you reanimate it almost all the time. There's plenty of ways to get it to the graveyard, so we'll go over some of those. We'll go over the sorceries and whatnot. We can do these in order. Victimize, just another reanimation spell, but it's also a sacrifice thing, so you can sacrifice a creature, then you reanimate some things back to the battlefield tapped. Cabal Therapy, this is mainly here to, like, you can name an online card, you'll probably whiff, but flashback sacrifice a creature. So getting this into the graveyard allows you to have a free sack outlet in the graveyard. It is at sorcery speed, but still strong. Just always have a free sack outlet. Persist, this is just another reanimator spell. Final Parting, this is great. This is a tutor that gets both the combo and the reanimator into your hand and into the graveyard. So search your library for 2 cards, put one of them into your hand, one of them into the graveyard. So you'll go get like reanimate, and then you get Protean Hulk. You put Protean Hulk in the graveyard, and then you cast reanimate. And there you go. Have a sack outlet, and you're good to go. Unmarked Grave, this just goes and puts Protean Hulk into the graveyard. Culling Ritual, this is mainly there for all the fast mana. You can ramp this out on turn 2 or 3 pretty easily, and this can give you a lot of destruction on the artifact, or was it not land? It can destroy your own stuff, so be careful. But then you get a lot of mana in response. You might be able to wipe the board of all the non-land permanents, maybe even a lot of hate cards, and then get a bunch of mana in response and hopefully combo off. Collective Brutality. This as well is another way. This is kind of like a discard outlet for getting Protean Hulk if it's in your hand, getting it to the graveyard so you can reanimate it. That's basically why it's in here. It has a bunch of other effects on it. You can use them as you see fit. Footsteps of the Goryo. This is another reanimator spell. But the cool thing about this reanimator spell is that this is a reanimate and a sack outlet. It does have to be at the end of turn, is when it sacrifices it, but the combo is all done at instant speed, so anytime you can reanimate it, that's good. You've got Chain of Smog, which we talked about earlier. Buried Alive. This is another one of those things where you search your library and you go get Protean Hulk and whatever else in the graveyard. What I would recommend is you go get Protean Hulk and then 2 mana dorks. Get them out of your deck so like your draws are better. Unless you need the mana dorks, but I don't see why you would. So yeah, just dump the crap that you don't want and then get Protean Hulk in the graveyard as one of the 3. Diabolic Intent. This is a sack outlet as well as a tutor, so that's great. Reanimate. We've talked about this, getting the Protean Hulk back on the battlefield. This one is Natural Order, so I'll view the card so you can actually read the card. View details. So Natural Order, 2 green, 2 colorless. As additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice a green creature. Search your library for a green creature, put it on the battlefield, and shuffle. So typically you'll sacrifice a mana dork and go get Protean Hulk onto the battlefield. Go straight to the battlefield, which is great. And then you can use whatever sack outlet to get Protean Hulk out of there. Get him out of there. Yeah, Grim Tutor, which is a tutor. Demonic Tutor, which is a tutor. Imperial Seal, which is a tutor. These are all tutors. You need them to go get combo pieces. You got Makeshift Mannequin, instant speed, reanimate. And whenever this creature becomes target of a spell, sacrifice it. Basically, this is just instant speed reanimation that you can hopefully try to catch people off guard. You've got Autumn's Veil. This is a pretty good protection spell against counter spells. Spells you control can't be countered by blue or black spells this turn, and creatures you control can't be the target of blue or black spells this turn. So this basically just kind of prevents counter spells. That's mainly what it's there for. Dark Ritual just ramps you. Nature's Claim just removes some painful artifacts. There are some artifacts that negate graveyard reanimating, like things that you can't cast things from graveyards, or you can't, move something from a graveyard to the battlefield. You need to have some kind of interaction. You are trying to combo off before they can even establish a board, but if you can't do that, then there are some interaction spells you need to have. It is CEDH, of course. This one is just a really solid removal spell for 1 black. There's a ton of creatures with total power and toughness less than 5 or less. So just a super cheap, really good removal. Instant speed. Slaughter Pack's the same way. You can Slaughter Pack your own Protean Hulk, so this is just an easy removal. You don't really care about having to pay for the ability because you're going to win before this goes off. And if you don't win, then you're probably going to lose anyway, so this doesn't really matter. It's a non-issue. Just a free destruction spell, and of course you can also use it to stop a combo of somebody else. Plumb the Forbidden. This is just another one of those sack outlets that allows you to also draw cards. Maybe you draw a real heavy creature ramp, and a creature like maybe a bunch of mana dorks or something. You can sack them and try to draw some cards if you need to, but mostly it's this there for sacrificing Protean Hulk. Noxious Survival is a response spell for a Phyrexian green. You can pay or put target card from your graveyard on top of its owner's library. Very flexible card. You can protect your Protean Hulk. Say they have a way to remove the graveyard. You can instant speed, put it back on top of your library. Or another thing you can do is if somebody's trying to reanimate something, maybe they're trying to reanimate your Protean Hulk and then doing something degenerate with it. Just getting it away from you is pretty degenerate. But you can always, again, respond, put it on top of the library. And you can also prevent stuff that they're doing in their graveyards. Putting something back on top of their library could screw them up. So very, very flexible, solid card. Abrupt Decay can't be countered and destroy target non-land permanent with a converted mana cost 3 or less. This is just a solid removal. Like I said, you still need some interaction. Wake the Dead. This is basically here for instant speed reanimating, and it also sacrifices the creature, which is fantastic. You only do it during combat on an opponent's turn, but that's fine because you don't care when the combo happens. As long as you have all the pieces, thumbs up. And of course, it sacrifices as well. Very good card. So for 3 mana, you can just reanimate something. Boom, there you go. And that something's going to be the Protean Hulk. If they don't have the answer, you win. Summoner's Pact, this just allows you to, if you have any of the discard cards, you can Summoner's Pact, get it to your hand, and then one of the discard cards, discard it and reanimate it. If you have enough mana, just cast it. You can do that as well. It is free. Like I said, these packs are fine as long as you just win the game. Assassin Trophy, just another removal. Make it a land. Destroy any target non-land permanent or any permanent. Entomb, this one's fantastic. It's instant speed. It puts Protean Hulk in the graveyard at instant speed. And it's only 1 black. It's fantastic. Reign of Filth. This is a somewhat risky card, but a lot of this, everything you do kind of hinges on resolving the combo. So Reign of Filth is just one of those cards that just helps you ramp, and you might have it like you might have Autumn's Veil or Veil of Summer already in hand, and you can kind of protect it, so you can kind of pop off that way. So Reign of Filth says at instant speed, each land you control gains sacrifice this land and block to your mana pool. So you can tap the land and then also sacrifice it. So it kind of doubles your mana pool for the turn. You do sacrifice all your lands, so or whatever, however many lands you sacrifice. So be careful. Veil of Summer, very similar to Autumn's Veil. Draw a card if an opponent has cast a blue or black spell this turn. Spells you control can't be countered this turn. You and permanents you control gain hexproof from blue and black until end of turn. Very, very good protection for your creatures and you. Culling the Weak, this is a sacrifice outlet as well as a way to ramp. It is 4 black for the cost of 1, so it's pretty solid. Basically just Dark Ritual, but you have to sack a creature. Cabal Ritual is a kind of a crappy ramp spell unless you're flooding the graveyard with stuff. You could pretty easily get Threshold. It's not too bad. So it's a little late game ramp, but it's still pretty good. Worldly Tutor, mainly there for getting Protean Hulk into your hand. If you have a discard outlet, discarding it, then reanimating it. But it could also go get things like Witherbloom Apprentice because it is green. You could go get, I don't know, a Mana Dork if you really, really want to. Or Allosaurus Shepherd to prevent your green spells from being countered. Stuff like that. Just kind of a flex spot. Vampiric Tutor, just a tutor. Instant speed, goes to the top of the library, which is great. Few artifacts. You can run more fast mana, but realistically, Sol Ring's kind of meh. Arcane Signet's kind of meh. Stuff like Lotus Petal and Chrome Mox are probably better off. I could see removing these two, to be honest. You could even probably remove these two and put in like a Collector Oof. Slows other people down, and you're not really dependent on these cards, and you can select when you play Collector Oof. Stuff like that could be something I could see happening. Wishclaw Talisman, this is here for, it's basically just a tutor on a stick. You tutor it and then you pass it to somebody. Basically, if you're tutoring, you only use this when you're going to win. So most likely you'll cast it and then you'll pass the turn and then it'll come back to you, then you can use it. And you'll probably give it to the person that's like going to go last before you. Altar Dementia, this is mainly just here for a sack outlet. These two are just mana rocks. Enchantments, Animate Dead. Animate Dead's a long-winded way of just saying it's just an reanimate spell. You reanimate it, goes to the battlefield, and then you want to sack it and then get rid of it. Pattern of Rebirth. Enchanted creature. Whenever an enchanted creature dies, that creature's controller may search the library for a creature card, put that card on the battlefield. This is basically just to put on like a mana dork, and then sacrifice it some way, or have it die some way, whether it's blocking or attacking or whatever. Most likely they won't block because they're not going to have. They don't care about your. They don't want your creature dying, of course. But yeah, so you go get Protean Hulk and then you sacrifice it. So you basically just want to use this when you have a sack outlet, because then you'll be able to do both combos. You'll be able to go sacrifice the creature that this is on, go get Protean Hulk, and then sacrifice that, and then go get the combo. Carpet of Flowers, you've got your enchantment that just gives you tons of mana as long as you have any blue players in the game. Otherwise, it kind of does nothing. But during your main phase, you may add up to X mana of one color to your mana pool, where X is the number of islands target opponent has. Just know that this only triggers on one of your main phases, so don't think it's both. Necromancy. Necromancy is can be played at instant speed, which is great because it can come out of nowhere when you can kind of do it when somebody's kind of trying to go for a combo. You can maybe try to interrupt them with your Necromancy, and at instant speed, it's great. Bury it at end of turn means you sacrifice the enchantment at the end of turn, then that'll kill the creature. Ideally, again, you want to have a sacrifice outlet, or else this doesn't really necessarily interrupt their combo. But instant speed resurrection is fantastic. Say they try to remove the graveyard, you can instant speed, boom, bring it back, and then if they don't have an answer, you just win at the end of their turn, which is great. Dance of the Dead is another one of those reanimate spells. Very, very solid reanimate spell, and we don't care about the untapping thing. Sylvan Library, just really, really good card advantage. It's very solid. Honestly, it's what won me the game for the second game. I ended up drawing like probably eight or 10 cards from this. I just took 8 like every turn, just to get a ton of card value, and being able to even if you don't pay 8, just being able to reorganize the deck like that, being able to see deeper every time you draw, select what card you draw. But in CEDH, you'll probably take 8 every time. And then we're bound to the lands. There's nothing really special about the lands except for you've got Phyrexian Tower. This is a sacrifice outlet on a land, and it also gives you 2 black if you need it. But I would highly recommend saving the sacrifice lands if you can for your Protean Hulk. Being able to sacrifice that at instant speed at any time is great. That's the same reason why High Market is in here. High Market also has a sacrifice as well. It also taps for mana, which is fantastic. Emergence Zone. This wasn't in the deck when I played in the tournament, but I recommend you play it. Emergence Zone is just really, really good. Being able to pay out 1 colorless and sacrifice it and try to do things at flash that, basically they think that they're ready to pop off, and then you interrupt it and do a bunch of sorcery stuff. And it's a speed, just pretty strong. Everything else is just kind of dual lands and whatnot. Yep, everything else is just dual lands. Gemstone Caverns is in here mainly just because, I wouldn't run this in the $50 version, but since you have the extra budget in the $1,000 version, I would recommend having this just to have the extra potential of having more mana on turn 1. And yeah, Ancient Tomb as well, not played in the $50 version. But yeah, both versions of the deck will be down in the description below. If you have any questions, also put in the comments. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And yeah, thanks for watching. This is a fun deck, I will say, but at the same time, I would only play this in CEDH level decks. I would not bring this against your kitchen table, just friends. They're not going to like you very much. It is a fairly consistent win on anywhere between turn 1 and 3 is fairly consistent, as long as you know how to aggressively mulligan and get to the right cards. It'll get it'll get your friends a little angry on if you're just constantly winning with this stupid combo. Especially with Witherbloom Prentice. That's just a dirty little combo. But anyway, thanks for watching, and see you next time.